What's happening, people? Welcome back to another video. Back again, making sure everyone subscribes, likes the video, enjoys the content. That's the main thing, man. When you enjoy the content, you hit the like button, subscribe, and I forgot last time to do this, but I'm going to put Nina's handle and Ahmed's handle, the Bridge258, in the comment thing below, description below, so everyone can follow them up and whatnot. Big up Hashim's always here early, always support me on Twitter as well. Big up Godfrey's here 3 days in a row, on time, 3:30, yeah, punctual. And of course, big up Nina, of course, Chelsea's corner. How are you doing today? Are you okay?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good, mate. We were just chatting, obviously, before we started up, that I'm actually excited to watch some football tonight, hoping that we're entertained. And yeah, we obviously got our own stuff to worry about, but at least just for today, we can put that aside. Yeah. Big up, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well.
Yeah, a lot of you are joining the chat, so make sure you hit the like button so everyone follows suit and push the algorithm out, then we can enjoy the content, man. But let's talk about the game. We spoke behind the scenes, but we'll touch on it briefly because people obviously that's what everyone's talking about right now. Yeah. What's the best outcome for us? Like for Chelsea fans, what's better for us? Because obviously it's Spurs who are rivals, and if you live in North London, then obviously it's peak, as Nina knows, or it's United who are like some way or another going to make Champions League if they win over us, and we have to go to the game we're going to speak about and get Champions League. They might even get it today. So who do you want to win? It's less of two evils, but who do you think's worse for us?
I can't hear myself exclaim the words "I want so and so to win" because I don't want either of the teams to win. But I think, like you said, there's the lesser evil. But obviously, a lot of fans are saying, for our history and our rivalry, like we cannot have Tottenham winning a trophy, etc. But it's also so damaging for United to get into the Champions League with how our season has been, how their season has been, and it just could turn so sour. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, our ancestors would be turning in their graves if they knew we were sat here saying that we wouldn't mind Tottenham winning it. So, I can't. I just want drama. I want to be, entertained, enticed, sponge out every emotion, let it get to penalties, let them feel that pressure. But yeah, no, I was just saying, because I live in North London and I've spoken to a lot of Tottenham fans around and, in my local like pubs and stuff. And everyone is so nervous and it literally seems like they've gone to war today. Like, I can't even explain to you how nervous all of these fans are. It's crazy to think, but
I was thinking about as well, just as you said that. Is also, because I said before, maybe it's because of their bad season, but also, do you know what it is, Nina and Ahmed, it could be because they actually feel like they can win it. Does that make sense? Because previous finals have been against teams where like they're the underdog, the other team's better than them, and they have a chance because they're in the final. But no one realistically believes they're going to win it. For example, Chelsea in the last cup, I think it was the FA or was it the Carabao Cup? One of the two we played them in. Carling Cup, we beat them. Then you got the Liverpool final, Champions League. They're the favourites. Then they had Man City as well. They were the favourites at the time. So maybe this final, they see it as like, we could actually win a European final because Man United aren't that good. I mean, beating them 3 times.
Three times this year, or 4, was it?
So,
3 more times.
Yeah,
they've beaten them 3 times. Yeah, they've beaten them 3 times.
I mean, that's the pressure. It's like, we can actually win. Like, we can actually do this. Can we actually do it? Whereas if they were playing like Liverpool, I don't think there'd be as much nerves because like they would know realistically it's going to be a long shot in it. But what do you think? What are you saying, bro?
Listen, from a Chelsea fan perspective, obviously, you don't want Spurs to be winning there, of course. I just think from a rivalry perspective, right? But if I separate my own fandom out of it, I think obviously you probably want Spurs to win it over United for a number of reasons. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of United. I don't really like United a lot personally. So it's like, I'd much rather Tottenham win it than them, realistically speaking. But I think for me, if you just look at the game as a whole, I just think, if Spurs just add a bit more, like they just play that full midfield of like Bissouma, Bentancur, Ansar, I just think that's a lot more athletic and it's a lot more, they've got a bit more of an engine there than United. I'll be honest. And then you've got, Romero.
They're missing.
I mean,
Maddison.
yeah, but I feel like at the same time, you've got Romero Van de Ven still back in the team. I think, I think there's still a little bit more quality, and you never know, man. Son might be leaving at the end of the season. His last stance maybe. Stuff like that. And I just think it's the year of the underdog at this point, or sorry, the year of like just breaking curses. I should say not underdog, but breaking curses. And I just think for them, it might just be that year.
It's their time, yeah. You think it's their time to finally do it?
Yeah, I actually think it's their time this year.
David, David obviously is very like diplomatic when he speaks here. He said you're always one game away from beating a record. So do you know what I mean? So if you look at it from that lens, they got to do it eventually. Do you know what I mean? So it might be today. Like almost if you put tribalism aside, I don't know if we spoke about this yesterday. You two weren't here on that stream, but linking it to Chelsea a bit, I don't really think Gyokeres going to Chelsea not really matters too much, in my opinion. But quickly, do you two really want Gyokeres? I really really want Gyokeres. Gyokeres for first choice because it's linked to Man United winning the trophy. Because if they win it, there's a higher chance they get him. But do you guys really want Gyokeres? Or not really?
I've always said that's my first choice for who I'd bring in. And I think, yeah, it's kind of unrealistic. But I think, if I compare it to Osimhen, Osimhen to me is equally as fairy tale. But I'd prefer Gyokeres personally.
I probably wouldn't want it. Gyokeres. I think Gyokeres is a very talented player. But I think the way we play, I think he's much better in a transition team, in my personal opinion. And I don't think we provide that as much, if that makes sense. Like, I think teams respect us too much now than they did maybe, let's say, 7 months ago to allow us to play in the transition. And I think he works most effective in my eyes in that sort of area. And I just don't, I think for me, I don't think we get Osimhen. I don't even think we get Gyokeres anyway. I think you're more likely to get
Champions League. You still think this?
Probably would say so, yes. I think you're more likely maybe to get 2 strikers in of like a Delap and someone else. Even I could see a scenario where they get maybe Delap, Jonathan David, or Delap, or the guy from the young striker from Strasbourg, and then Jackson gets moved on. I think there's just like I could see a scenario where that even happens.
Oh, that's a lot of scenarios there. So in your opinion, you believe Jackson will leave, will sign 2 strikers?
I think that's probably what will happen, yeah.
Seriously?
I think that was going to happen, yeah.
I don't know, man. Nina, what do you think? I don't know about that one. I don't know.
The only reason why I say that is that
give us a reason behind it. So, yeah,
there was obviously that really that report from like Matteo Moretto that was like saying that a lot of clubs have got their eyes on Jackson, like to bring it to be to actually buy him.
Yeah.
And I also think after what happened this season, I think for me has been like a bit of a regression.
Like the last straw sort of thing. People fed up with it.
Regression. I think that's from a fan base perspective. Obviously, like, I feel like some people had like their final straw, but I think he's regressed this season as well, which has not helped him out either. If that makes sense. And this is pre-injury and then post-injury. So I think if you're from a club perspective, I look at a guy like even Emeka from Strasbourg. He may not still be like, I think Jackson's still better than him right now, but I think you could probably get a bit more out of a guy like an Emeka than you can a Jackson, with all due respect. And then you just buy the archetype that you want, and then Delap. If you get the UCL football, I feel like it's just a no.
That's a good segue, because obviously on the title says what players deserve a chance next season. So that's quite a good segue. But Nina, you know what it is? I actually haven't deep this. No one's really discussed what happens to Jackson if we do get a striker, I don't really hear anybody speak about that. They're just like, get a striker. And no one really discusses where Jackson's going to play, whether we should sell him or not. Does you getting a striker, in your opinion, mean that Jackson should compete, or is he not even good enough to do that? Like, do you really think it's a striker comes in and we look to move him on to another club because you don't think he's good enough? Or do you think you can utilize him in the team?
Yeah, no, you could utilize him. I think actually Jackson will benefit from us bringing that guy in, because let's be real, we should have brought that guy in when Jackson arrived at the club, first off, period. That's when another centre forward should have come in, really, because let's be real, Jackson wasn't an end product. Jackson was just a potential what if signing, and because of his impressive preseason and his kind of decent display there, it just made everyone believe that he could be our sole out and out number 9, be first choice. But actually we came to learn that that was always too much to ask of a player of his of his experience. So he's kind of been left to hang out to dry. Like, obviously Jackson, for what it was envisioned for him has under-delivered. But at the same time, is that the player's fault? He wasn't provided that support of having someone else come in and so he could learn from, so he could compete with. But, you know, Jackson was never going to be that guy for us. So that is obviously on recruitment. So now we have an opportunity to correct that. Yeah, maybe 2 years too late. However, you have an opportunity to go out there, get that someone who can be less of a what if, is already kind of ready-made, is already established, has a good box presence, has a better conversion rate than Nicholas Jackson as well. Because let's be real, that has been one of his weaknesses. Like, Jackson, yes, has had scored goals, but he's missed 19 big chances this season. Think about 19 chances put away. That puts us in a more comfortable position. It doesn't come down to fighting on the last day of the season to get into the Champions League. Now, it's not solely on Jackson. I'm not going to single him out, but I'm just saying, think of someone who is, you know, better than Jackson, a better profile in that position. We're in a different position here. So that is so important to go out there and get that guy in summer. It doesn't mean that you sell Jackson, because let's be real, then that means you're replacing, but it's not replacement, because we need someone that's better. So keep them both. Let Jackson learn. And also, you know, a lot of the time we've said that Jackson plays better maybe out wide, or he's, you know, he could play with someone rather than being the sole guy there. So that's actually an experiment that we can make. But firstly, we need to bring in that guy. So yeah, he doesn't need to go.
I don't think he necessarily needs to go, but I just think what's gonna happen is an offer's gonna come in. That's too that they can't take down for Jackson.
But to be fair though, like,
what offer could I
think you could easily get 50 million for Jackson. If you get,
here's the thing, like, not all players are untouchable. Yes, I like this model because they do favourite the play. Essentially, they buy loads of youngsters. People in the chat, you two know this, but they buy loads of youngsters, and essentially they keep the players who are good enough, and the ones who aren't, they'll look to flip. And Jackson, for me, the way it's going, I agree with Nina, he could be supporting and stuff, but his temperament and stuff, I don't know if he's going to be there, because he's just doing stupid things.
Exactly.
That for me is like, you don't need to be 26 to not do. Like what he did last game, that's just stupid, isn't it? Like, regardless of what age you are, you could be 19, 21.
Yeah.
Lucy Wanyeri, Lewis Skelly doing that. And they make mistakes. But so my thing is, he needs to show a bit more temperament and mentality to stay at this club. It's not just about quality. We can all see, raw quality-wise, he's got good potential to be like a decent, good like squad player. He's not any worse than like potentially what New Diaz is for Liverpool, where he's chips in like 10 goals a season. He could definitely do that. He's done it this season. But I just don't think he could be the main man. And with his temperament and stuff, I question it. Even if we have like competition, would he like shrink under the pressure sort of thing? I can see that happening.
The thing with him is that he always
that's an assumption, by the way, but that's how I see it.
You know, because I think for me that, you know, listen, if you just talk about temperament, he's always averaging like a yellow card a game. Like, you know, he could probably he could bet from but I just think for me, I probably would much rather him say, of course, it's a backup, ideally, and then you bring in someone better. But for me, I do believe just, I don't know why, it's just a gut feeling of mine that the signing, that there's just going to be like a £50 million offer. A lot of mid-table clubs now looking for like that striker that they need for the team. He probably, I think, would work really well in a mid-table team right now in a bunch of different markets. £50 million offer. I just don't think the club can refuse that. And I think even for him, he'd probably welcome it, because I don't think he's that receptive of the way the fans even see him at home, in my personal opinion, right? And I think it would be a much easier place for him to go to, and a bit more of a much better environment just to allow him to grow as well.
Yeah, cool. That's true, actually. Is there any other players you think that, for example, Enzo Fernandez is being touted right now to leave? He's not a player who I would give another chance to next season. Would even you two sell it? Well, I wouldn't sell it. But would any of you two entertain it for a swap for Rodrigo?
No.
I just don't. I think for me, the problem you're gonna have here is that even if you were to say let's do a swap deal for Rodrigo, I don't think it would have to be more than just Rodrigo for me to let him go. You'd probably have to get another player off of their hands, even if that was to be like a something to happen. But I just think right now, I think this season has taken a much better step in terms of his growth and what he can do for the team, which you have to actually give him credit for. And I think, you know, if he continues on this trajectory, he's going to be worth more than what he is right now. So why would I even sell him?
The thing is this,
this
Tony,
season?
I give Ahmed and I even myself agree, but it's a tough one on midfield because next season, how's it going to work? Because if Santos is as good as everyone says and he's very versatile, I know if we make Champions League, we're going to use all these players, but we still need a set team. That's our problem this season. We haven't had a set 11. We haven't had like starters who are like, yeah, I ain't moving from this team. I perform. We've only had a few players, obviously Caicedo, etc., who are like, yeah, I start no matter what. I want to know in my midfield who's starting next season. Like, I would like to know that because then we can build around it. And it's difficult because we've got Asugo probably won't start. Okay, Fez. Caicedo will. Palmer will. So then where's Enzo and Lavia and Santos going to fit in?
Well, that's the thing, though. You'd like to think that Enzo is part of those players that you just said there for, a solid kind of now what we've got forming as a backbone, if you can say. Like, we all agreed coming into the season that Caicedo and Enzo and Lavia are our kind of first picks. Like, yeah, we were unsure how they all look in the same team, but Lavia made that problem easier because he decided to dip with an injury all year. But we'd like to think that next year we'll see a lot more of that, and then it's up to our coach to kind of figure out how that works. But when people say, oh, should Santos come in, does someone need to leave? I don't think so. I think Santos comes in and he adds depth actually to our midfield and he offers something different. I don't think he is the same player as Enzo Fernandez either. I think, they're quite different. And, if Enzo Fernandez goes, you've got a whole nother problem on your plate because you've got to go and get a player that adds that creativity, that playmaking ability that Enzo Fernandez has in our team. So
you don't think Santos would benefit from another year out? You'd bring him back?
Well, I'd like to at some point. Do you know what I mean? I think I'd like to bring Santos back and see what that team can look like. And let's be real, we have run Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo into the ground with minutes. It will be nice to have a little bit of rotation when needed. And, we like to think that Santos is actually a good enough ability now to be able to maybe come into the Premier League. Like there is a reason other clubs and good clubs around Europe have looked at him, have sniffed around for him. So that makes me believe that maybe he is ready to come in and, play some games for our first team. At the end of the day, it's always that prospect of the player that's excited us, but we've never seen him, actually there. Can he fit in? Can he hit the ground running? But I don't think it's a case of you have to move someone on. Again, I think that he can absolutely come into this team and that gives us more stability. And it means that, we can maybe try some different setups. Obviously, God willing, we're in the Champions League next year. Again, that is a lot more depth that you can have. Let's be real. Our benches have been looking very, very thin, guys, haven't they?
Yeah.
We don't have game changers on the bench. I'm not saying that Santos necessarily could be that, but he's definitely someone that you'd look at in a game and go, bring him on. Or do you know what I mean? Or maybe start him and then bring someone else on. And actually, that's something that we need to look at next season, because if we're going to be in the Champions League, what we have right now isn't going to cut it. Like, we do need to add some depth and we need to add that extra layer there of players who are ready. And hopefully we address some of that in the transfer window.
Because then if we kept Asugo, who's going to stay, Santos stays, Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo has more than enough options for cup. And also, the winter period time, especially where you got 3 games in a week, whatever it is, I think that'd be good enough. Because then what you could do is you could play Caicedo to start, then Asugo could come in like 60th minute. So yes, Caicedo's starting the game, but you could rest him for a good half of the game. And then if you do that, then you could start Caicedo again for champs, take him off 80th minute because of higher competition, higher level, and then you could bed the players in that way. That's not a bad shout. And talking about, like, we're going through the spine, coincidentally, you know what I mean? Colwell as well. So Colwell looks like he's in the middle. I don't know if we'll sell him, but it looks like we're going for left centre-back as well, like Brentwaite been linked, Gayhe's been linked. Do you think that we should get 2 centre-backs, Ahmed, or 1? So do you trust that if we got 1 centre-back, he could partner what we've got? Or would you go for 2 fresh centre-backs with the level of experience we need for the champs and stuff?
I think we probably need 2. And I think, obviously, you made the point about experience, which I think is obviously, I don't know if experience is going to be coming in necessarily. Obviously, Guy, if he comes in, I think he provides experience in terms of, I think, a bit more of a leadership role. That's probably, I would probably say, needed in the back line. I think other intangibles that are probably needed as well. I think for me, I've come to I've not been a big fan of Guy personally, But I think this season I've been turned around upon the fact that I think we need a guy there, a bit more older, a bit more wiser. Yeah, like a steady Eddie. I think for me, that's what you probably. And I think with Gahi, that's what you're probably going to be getting, a steady Eddie guy that's very good in general overall, can put on a co-walk and make sure that back line is a lot more solid than as it should be. And I think you're probably going to need that. You're going to probably need another centre back because Renato Vega, I think, probably is going to get sold in the summer. I'm pretty sure. Disasi's leaving your club. I don't know what the status of Chalobah is going to be at the football club, but I would probably see him as a backup more than anything else. I think Tosin is going to be a backup fast as well. So you need maybe one more guy there that you can have, because again, Fofana as well, I don't really trust him. I don't think any of us trust him to be playing regular football at all. So you need to bring in another guy in just in general, right? Just to add to that. Buddy Shaw, I think also, I know the club is saying he's untouchable, but I think if you get a good offer for him, he goes too. So you probably do need just two in general in that backline.
Guys, hit the like button for me. I never push it. I keep forgetting every time I stream. 40+ people in here. Hit the like button for me. And also, I'm going to add Ahmed and Nina's handles below in the guest handle section so you can see that. Also, I was thinking that you are right on that part, but is it fair to say, that this is very controversial, Nina, and you give good answers. Is it fair to say that the board was right not to rush and buy people last summer and this January if they didn't believe it was the right fit for Chelsea? Is it a hindsight thing? So if it works this summer, the next year, and we do very well, or a lot of people could have to go, you know what, maybe Bluco was right to not just rush and get that player. Because by the way, that's their reasoning for not getting the striker last summer and in Jan. Is because they didn't believe.
How's that worked out?
Of course,
that's true. Yeah,
of course, is a risk that might work out. By the way, in 1 week we're going to find out if it's worked out or not. 1 week. So
yeah, fine, but that's just achieving the objective.
Being balanced. You've got to keep it real, both sides. 1 week's time, it could work out. But do you think that the market is dictating what they're doing rather than the other way around? Because in my opinion, can you guys name me much centre backs that are attaining all that experience? Can you name me a plethora of strikers you can buy?
The thing for me,
see what I'm saying?
I think for me, I don't know, you've heard me say this before, Chaz. I think the centre back market, I always say, I think you're probably more than likely, in barring maybe a Gahi, I think the market in general does not have that many I think elite talents that are going to be out there for you to get, in my personal opinion.
What is this? Guys, what's this, by the way? What is this? Are you trolling me?
No. Chill out. But I think in the older age.
For up front, does he mean for a centre forward?
Striker. Yeah, second striker.
Maybe striker, but no chance. Yeah, but I think the elite of the elite centre backs aren't available for you right now. Like, if we're being honest, right? A lot of them are locked up in good contracts, are in teams that they're probably a lot more happy with. But then there's the other end right now, which is probably where everyone's basically eating from. Now, ideally, if I was the Chelsea, sporting director, I would probably be looking at someone like a Jan Bisek to be brought into the team, right? And a Gahi. I think Gahi and Jan Bisek in the team, right? I would probably be like, you know what? I feel like my centre backs are kind of sorted out, in my personal opinion. They provide everything that I probably need: physicality, the ability on the ball, the heading ability as well. I'm getting the overall package having this week.
See, I want to get Nina's opinion as well. You're agreeing with the model then?
No, I'm agreeing with the centre back model. I agree with the centre back. Yeah, but I think the problem when it comes to striker though, but my thing is, bro,
because although what you're saying is facts, by the way, there's still some Chelsea fans that will hear what we're saying and go, no, but we need more experience. And it's like, we do need more experience. We have to look at the market as well. Like, there's not really a lot of...
It depends on what position though.
There's a lot of attainable centre-backs we can get that are like 27, who are actually going to be realistic to come to our club.
I don't necessarily believe there aren't those players out there. There definitely are. And I think, I'm one of the biggest advocates in fan base to sign some experience. And I don't necessarily think, you need to be elite. I think you just have to have some experience. Someone mentioned in the chat, Jonathan Tarr, he's just kind of been a loyal servant to the club. He's led, he's been part of them winning the league, etc. Yeah, maybe he's not the very best anymore, but just still someone to bring in something of
Again,
any capacity of experience, been there, done that. You know, in any league really, we are kind of desperate. I like the prospect of Gehi because I think again, you know, his experience in the Premier League, that's experience. He also was one of our best players at the Euros last year, and you could definitely see that experience grow there. You know, someone who can represent country as well. So I think, you know, familiar with the league, still at a good age, good footballing ability, definitely has leadership qualities there. So that's also a good prospect. You know, we were talking about the thought of if Rudiger's available there. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Rudiger, but there are players out there. You know, people talking about Konate coming to his end at the time at Liverpool. There are certainly players out there that you can look at if you want to bring some experience in. And, you know, Ches, I told you last time when Don and I were going back and forth about Tosin not, in my opinion, being an experience.
I was listening to that stream.
And, you know, love Don, shout out to you, Don, but I don't believe that Tosin is that guy either. So I think, you know, go out there, just bring someone who everyone can learn from. Like, you know,
in his defense, yeah, you don't make me laugh. I love both of you there. You don't make me laugh because you were both like, what he was saying was, Hassan was like, you don't sound experience. So he mentioned experience tossing. But then that wasn't the point. The point was that like experience of quality, but Dom was responding to Sam's original point. It just got a bit confusing. But yeah, it was fun.
But my thing is like, I think if I look at like a Rudiger and a Jonathan Tah, for example, right? Rudiger just had surgery right now. I think he's got 1 more year left on his deal with Real Madrid. I don't know. Listen, it's great that I would be bringing him for experience purpose, but if I was to play him right now in his current state, with how much heavy lifting he's had to do in the last 2 seasons, particularly at Real Madrid without their centre backs, I'm not going to be getting, you know, a usable Rudiger, right? Does that make sense? Like, I'm not even asking that he needs to be like full pace doing the stuff that he was doing at Real Madrid, but can I get a serviceable version of him? I don't know. I think of Jonathan Tah, I actually think he had a great season the season before. This season he's kind of regressed. He may be probably what I wanted maybe Tosin to be, right? Which I think is fair, right? If you want to bring him in for that aspect. But again, you know, if he's not in the back three, is he going to be able to handle what we're doing right now as well, right? So, right, that's why like those two, like it's a bit of a give and take, if that makes sense. At least from the centre department. But I want to get to your striker point, Chaz, just quickly. Yeah, I think for me, the problem with the striker argument, about not getting a striker is that you can just see the way you've been playing, because you know me and I speak a lot, right? The way we play, and then the lack of goal scoring you've had for like a good 4-month period, bro. Probably you can include this month, to be honest, right? But like you had a whole 4 to 5 month period of no goals, barely any goals scored. Sorry, not any no goals, but like and we've needed that to take place. So I think for me, you probably should have gone into the market and gotten yourself a striker.
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah, realist. You know what it is? I just give Ahmed before when he said he doesn't see us getting Osimhen. I genuinely believe if Chelsea Champions League football, Elise would be at our club and Osimhen would be at our club, because the issue necessarily wasn't that Osimhen wanted 250, is he wanted 250 base, and we was in Conference League. So the club works very, very strategically where everything has to line up. If you notice the way they move, it's all very meticulous, 9-year contracts, spread out, this, that, all the T's, selling the women's team. They know exactly what they're doing. In my opinion, they probably didn't think the opportunity cost of paying the extra money was worth it if we're in the Conference League, which actually, if you think about it, makes sense, because you wouldn't need to pay X amount of millions just to get a player to help you win the Conference League and top 4, which they thought you could do anyway. Hope everyone's with me with that.
I mean, for example,
by the way, that's the logic. That's their logic. I
get the logic.
It has to make sense in a week's time. So I agree with Nina when she says that.
For me though, that's what I'm saying. If we don't get UCL this Sunday, for example, by not being,
then obviously it's wrong. Yeah,
right. So for me,
that's my point. My point is they weren't that much wrong because we are in a position to do it, and you could argue that we should have done it regardless.
Yeah, but then I could just twist that argument and just say if you had him now, we'd be miles off it right now. We'd probably be where Arsenal probably is, or something like that, where we've got a 10-point gap. We'd probably be relaxed at this point in time of the season, not really fighting for that much. Maybe just being on the beach at this point. So you probably. I feel like it's both ways.
Do you not believe in, for example, I was thinking this as well, yeah? I hear what Ahmed's saying. Would be clear. You'll probably have it. But do you not think that if we get UCL, which is a higher possibility, 50-50 as it stands,
high possibility 50-50, yeah.
That's like higher than before.
Only 60% for that.
I think 50% is quite high considering where it was 4 weeks ago. You know, 4 weeks ago it was gone. You know what I'm saying? But do you not think neither that like we would pay this extra wages if we're in Champions League? Because by the way, everyone's wages goes up by 30% or 25%. So and we have more money. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like they would budge for Rodrigo's and Osimhen's. Or do you think they'll still stick with the 30 million?
I might think so, you know. I mean, track record says otherwise, but I think, you know, if we get the Champions League, maybe that changes, or at least I'd like to believe that maybe it budges a little bit. But, you know, at some point, I think, you know, it has already been made clear that we might, again, like you say, bend the wage structure slightly or go away from it just to accommodate for getting, you know, that guy over the line, which obviously would be much necessary. Again, we talk about traction, we talk about competing with other clubs. Are we looking as attractive as we used to be? Probably not, but you know, getting back in the Champions League certainly does change things. You know, we're a London club, you know, we've got a lot of history, we have won trophies, we are definitely kind of slowly building ourselves up, hopefully, to competing in the league again at some point in the near future. So I don't worry about that too much, but for me, it's more about how we actually approach those players and what it is we're offering them. Because let's be real, like, I mean, Rodrigo's on, I think he's on what, just under 250 a week or something like that. Like he won't get, so he won't get anything, I don't think, near that, you know, if he comes to Chelsea, unless again we try and accommodate a little bit. But again, like we're talking hypothetically here, but if you want to get a player like Rodrigo over the line, who at the moment probably has clubs and clubs to pick from, like he's going to have Liverpool looking at him, he's got Arsenal, pretty sure maybe City are going to have a look as well. So Saudi maybe even, who, you know, wages take all you wish.
Infinite.
You're looking at about, you've got to ask the question, like, how serious are you about getting a player like that? Because we know what the terms are, you know, and it is definitely, maybe people will say, worth it, you know, to actually change the wage structure for a player like Rodrigo. You could probably justify it, as you will maybe for an Osimhen. But again, I just don't know if I can trust the club necessarily to do that, because, you know, we're in the Champions League. I definitely think a player like Rodrigo elevates us. He does upgrade us. You know, he can almost instantly walk into this team and start, and, you know, help us contribute to goal scoring ways as well. We know that we haven't been quite lucky with signing goal scoring wingers recently, and, you know, they've maybe let us down output wise, but, you know, he does come in. But again, it's like, you have to ask yourself, do we really think that our owners will do this? I'm not too sure. So yeah, but you have to be realistic here and say that, you know, if we're competing in the Champions League, we're gonna have to sign a couple of players like that, of that caliber.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're gonna have to.
Yeah, yeah. But I like to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, we're in the Champions League, they might think about this and look at it a little bit differently.
That's that's how I'm seeing it. Yeah, you're right. There's no evidence because we haven't been in the Champions League with them.
Yeah.
And when we was when they just came in. So I'm not. No, but
I'm gonna be honest.
My logic is,
I get the logic. Listen,
my team, by the way, I'm gonna make it clear, yeah. It's not hoping. It's not me going, I wish. I'm sitting there, my, like, what do you call it, like Christmas time, looking that, like, hearing the reindeers and that, like, oh, I hope Santa's there. It's not even that. It's more like a logic. They work on what they work with, in it. So they have better tools because they get more money, because we're in a higher profile competition, and because I know how they work, I wouldn't be surprised if they did buy Rodrigo or Osimhen, because now they have the extra money, they feel like it's feasible to do so. That's how I'm seeing it. And the reason why I know that is because when they didn't do it is because we wasn't in the champs. We wasn't even, guys, we're not even in the Europa League. We're in the Conference League. You don't need Osimhen to win the Conference League. That's a fact. You see what I'm saying?
But I don't think, but again, my aim of bringing Osimhen, if I was to, again, would have been to make sure I secure UCL football. No, let me explain. To bring in to secure UCL football. And again, it's also, I think there's also this other thing that I don't think we talk about a lot. It's also about synergy. You want synergy with your striker without going to be with you for first season. You want to work out the kinks. Let him be with these younger players. Actually help them as well. I think for me, that probably is the other aim that you want to have. Like, again, if this is a project, as you're saying, you want these guys to develop, right? And you're saying this is your striker for the medium term, right? You also want him to be there whilst these guys are growing too, right? So that there's a level of chemistry that you have with your team, no?
Yeah. Oh, you were like the chemistry of the team, you mean?
Yes, yeah. Because if he's gonna be this is gonna be a number one striker, you want him to have like some level of like
of course. So
right,
ideally you're gonna go for a younger guy like Sesko who can match in. He's got the profile, he's young like everyone else, all man them, all chill, get along in the tea lady room, whatever it is. Like
I personally would not want Sesko at this team. But
like the man that I spoke to yesterday at like 7 on, 3 of them said Sesko for that very reason. They want it to be where if you're gonna go for this model, stick to it.
You can't go for Sesko. I'm sorry. For me, my problem with Sesko is that he doesn't even look. All of these other attributes aren't great, barring his power shoot, like his power shot, essentially. Like his like ability to hit the ball really well. All of these other attributes that I've seen from him, he does them to either average to below average level, right? And so for me, it's just like, you know, if I'm putting a ball into the box, can I rely on Sesko to give me a headed goal?
Mm.
No, it's true.
I don't really, you know what I mean? So my problem, like, again, we need to, if you're gonna bring in a striker, he has to match the guys that you've got in the team right now. You've got a Pedro now that's like spamming crosses. You've got a Noni Madueke that likes to spamming crosses. Sancho, who, if he can, will probably put in a cross, right? So therefore,
Osimhen makes a lot of sense for our team.
I'm not even, and the thing again, I'm not even saying bringing Osimhen. If you bring in a Delap for me, I'm not too bothered either because I think he suits it too.
Yeah, but obviously we want to actually like. I know we probably will get Delap, but I'm talking about like hypothetically.
It's about again for me. I tell you, but I think for me, it's the way I put it. It's also about the archetype you're bringing in. If that makes sense, a guy that can do the job and is good at doing that job. That's what you want to be bringing in at the end of the day.
Yes. People smash the like button for me, man. Like Godfrey here said, a member of the channel. That's why it's got a little squiggly thing in his name. Stop moving like Hoyland, who, by the way, I don't know what Nina and Ahmed said. We want him to score today. We don't want him to score today, or we don't care.
I couldn't care less.
Yeah, Hoyland. Don't move like him, like he did against Stamford Bridge, doing nothing. Tottenham's looking down at him like a child. Smash the like button, and also I've added Nina and Ahmed's handles below, so you can just click on the link and follow their channels. Is that easy? Yeah. So after you like, go down, see their channels. Guys, talking about battle. To be fair, Omrodjian was a type of player we could have used. And a lot of them, guys, can we not make that mistake this summer? Not Nino and Ahmed, yeah. But can we not do this where we're linked to someone and everyone hates on him? And then we cry about him when he's not here? How about we let the ownership just see what they need to do and get the right players in for once? Because I feel like, don't lie, Nino and Ahmed, if we had Omrodjian right now, would we be comfortable in top 4? Yes or no? Before we move on to the Forest game. Quick answer. See, you know you want to say yes. You know you want to say yes.
Look, there's no guarantee. However, I think we'd be in a better position because I guess we'd be better equipped. So
I always wanted Omrodjian, so I was a big fan of Omrodjian, so it's a shame we didn't get him.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
and he was feasible as well. He was feasible. It wasn't like it was this crazy saga transfer. We can get over the line. Like we messed that up as well.
Jorge Mendes, man. Bloody hell, man. I speak.
Yeah.
I'll answer your question directly. Yo, hey, who's winning tonight, bro? Very direct.
I think Spurs. Big up to Ozan.
I think so too. I said
what? What is going on? Guys, are we living? Guys, what's going on here? Why do you think Spurs are gonna win? What?
I just think so, mate.
Something's in the air, man. Something's in the air this year, man.
That's what Nina said. That's actually what Nina said.
Something's in the air.
Where's the script? Let me find it. So where's the script?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. You were saying, what the hell? And always win second season. I hear it, man. Go back to our first section.
That's a cold quote by Andy, man. I'll be honest, man. I always win my second season. And yeah,
bro,
man. Big up.
You know the edits on that one will be cold, isn't it?
And you know what it is about Andrew Stocks, would genuinely be generational if he wins, by the way. Like, like you know that, right? Mourinho didn't win there. Conte, serial winner that's probably about to win at Napoli's, right? He did it. You know what I mean? Do you know how crazy
if Brennan Johnson and them lot, he will get crowned. But anyway,
I'm telling you, there's a lot of dubs available in the market, bro. Like by Leverkusen.
From one final, guys, to another. Our cup final on Sunday. How shameless is that? But it is, unfortunately, our cup final for the UCL. And obviously it's entitled, What Chelsea Must Do on Sunday to Get Over the Line. And that means win, because we can draw, but City won yesterday, which means basically they're through. They need to get a draw. Villa are not going to lose against Man United, guys. That's my only hope, but I can't see it happening. So, Nina, question for you is, what tactically, physically, religiously, whatever it is, do you think we need to do on Sunday to win this game? Like,
well, I'll certainly be saying a prayer on my way up. I'll tell you that. I'll be like,
are you going? You're going?
Yeah, I am.
Damn, we need you. Hey, you're good luck, Tanya. We need that. Yeah? I don't know what you need to do.
I don't usually do away days.
Yeah,
but
like,
I was like,
what's your favorite color? What color gives you good luck? Blue? Was it orange? Whatever it is, wear it.
Blue and purple, my colors. Yeah.
Wear that, please. We need it. What's going to happen on Sunday, man? What are you saying?
I mean, I'm nervous. I can't lie, guys. I don't intend to get nervous for football games, but I'm nervous because, I'm annoyed at us because it never really should have been this high stake game in the first place, and we put ourselves in this position, so we only have ourselves to blame here. Like, we've been counting on other teams' misfortune to still keep us in this race, which is a shame because we should have really done much better and actually grinded out our own luck and made a better path of this, but we haven't. So that's the situation. Can't really do much, but I think what is on our side is that for Nottingham Forest, there is still an incentive in this game. And actually, in any other world, it probably wouldn't have been. But they're going to want to come out and have a go at us. Do you know what I mean? And it's at their ground. It's a season finale. They can make that place hostile if they like. And I think that they will actually come out and play. So I think that could work in our favour if we have a bit more space, because again, that is when we have played our better football this season. However, we all know that, yes, we can have chances. That hasn't necessarily been the problem. It's been actually getting on the end of those and finishing our dinner. So that's really what it comes down to. And I think that we need to be on the ball, and I think that take your chances. I want to see players take some risks as well, because ultimately sometimes that's what you need.
Palmer,
how big
Palmer needs to step up. He needs to take more risks.
Palmer needs to step up. Hopefully Palmer. What I would do for Palmer to be in his best form, and just put the game away. But do you know what? I think it's going to come down to who scores first, because that really will change the actual dynamic of the game. I think if we can score first, hopefully, then that will work in our favour. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be nerve-wracking, but something tells me that I don't think it's not going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, because I think it just will be dramatic. Antony Taylor's reffing it. I can see controversy. I don't know. I just think it's going to be absolutely massive.
Let me just check their last few home goal scoring. I know they haven't done well in terms of like winning games, but I want to see how many goals they scored at home. So it's 2 against Leicester, none against Brentford. This is at home, by the way. None against Everton, 1 against Man U, 1 against City, none against Arsenal, 7 against Brighton, which is in February, and then we're going too far back. So recently, other than the Leicester game, that's 2 goals is the max they've scored at home. That's against Leicester.
Yeah, but how many goals have the team scored against them?
I gotta be,
So they've conceded in the last 5 games 7 goals.
It's a partnership.
Last 4 games, they've conceded 7 goals in the last 4 games.
They've run out of steam.
But listen, we can't take anything for granted at this point, man.
Nah.
I'll be.
I'm not saying it means anything. I'm just saying.
I'll be very honest. Usually I'm very nervous when you go into big games, but I think for this one, I'm a bit more relaxed.
We're doing it. I can't stand these. Every single Chelsea on my channel saying it's going to be Nina's the only one who's like nervous. Everyone's so chill.
I'll be honest.
I was a lot more.
Listen, I was an absolute nervous wreck. I'll be honest, against United and against Liverpool. I'll be honest. I was completely very nervous
Liverpool,
for those games.
I wasn't, It's weird.
I was for those games. I genuinely was. I think for me, this game in particular, when I look at it, right, and everything like that, I just think for me, I just got to have faith at this point that the boys are going to get the job done. I think last week, we had that game, obviously, where our attackers didn't really show up in that game, if we're being honest, right? came down to our fullbacks doing the job offensively, excuse me, to get the job done. So I'm hoping in this game, our attackers can do that job effectively. I went to the Forest game at home this season, and one of the things I will say that we did really well was that we got the ball a lot more than them, obviously, because that's what they like to counter us. But I think we created a lot of chances in that game, but we weren't clinical enough. And Sells, I think, did a good job, obviously, in that game of defending, right? But I think in this game, if I'm Chelsea, I have to go in with that same thing of saying, I've got to get a minimum 2 goals here. You have to get a minimum of 2 goals here. You've got to go there, got to attack, really. And I probably would go for the same lineup, but I think instead of like having Tariq, obviously, as the false 9, I'd probably have Neto in the false 9, probably Madueke on the right, and then Sancho on the left.
I saw Mark Gui in training yesterday. Is that right?
I think he's going to come off the bench. I think Gui is too early for Gui to start. It'll probably be off the bench, I'll be honest. He only just started training, bro. So, so it'd be, I think, bench option for him. But I think
if he had one match in his bag, I would have started him, George,
I think Neto in the 9 is still going to be very effective for you.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because Sancho's
Neto's in the 9, right? And then if you want to, I think if you want to play Sancho right wing instead, right, and keep Madueke on the left wing, I don't think that's a bad option, right? Or either or on the other side, right? I just think for me, it's a big thing. This game, bro, you just gotta go out there and just get the win. That's what you gotta do. That's your job, just to win. I don't care how we do it, but hook or by cookery, I don't care. Just get it done. That's what you gotta do. And we did it last season. There, give credit to Reece James for that amazing cross, and Jackson getting the tap in for that goal. But we need to do that again now. That's what it comes down to.
I agree with that. Personally, I don't want to see Tyreek George anywhere near this one. I think he can be on the bench. And that's no disrespect to the player, but let's be real, he never should be really even featuring in these big ones now at this point. So I agree with what Ahmed said. I think, I'd start Madueke and Sancho on the wings. I think they're good for, dribbling, taking on their men. If it is tight, then they could probably do a job there. And then obviously Palmer in his usual spot and Neto in that kind of false 9 or just through the middle, because his movement centrally is so much better anyway than all of our other options that we could have there. And we need a bit of a surprise sometimes. And obviously, I don't know, Forest could sit back, but I don't think they will. I think they will come out at us and give us a bit of a game. So that means you get a little bit more space, and then that's time for Sancho. But Sancho, please, if you see an opportunity, shoot, my guy. I don't want to see this dilly-dallying, passing, crossing. Just please, if you're in a position to shoot, just do it. He's not probably watching, but that's why I'm looking out into the universe.
He gets in good areas. He just doesn't.
One thing I want to also just preface to the team, just on a personal note, can we stop doing these over the top crosses, please? Can we get there down low, some low crosses?
No, but we're forgetting the elephant in the room, guys. The main issue is, can we not start the game at half time? That's the main issue.
That's not the thing too.
You both forgot to say that. We just forgetting that. Chelsea, for some reason, it's tactics, by the way. It's 100% tactics. Maresca tells the team a lot of games to kind of feel the game. Don't expose yourself too much. Tactically stay within your shape. Then the second half, he adjusts things to get the winner. He does it all the time. And we noticed
you just got to come with the right mentality. You have to come with the right mentality.
Have you noticed that most games, right? We don't really score in the first half. You guys notice that? I have. We don't score in the first half. We rarely score and win the game in the first half.
It's a mentality thing to surprise our opponents, make them think they're in control, and then come out.
That's what he does. Yeah, he goes, see out the game. If you get a chance, score it, obviously, but don't do too much. And then second half, change it up. Then he'll do like a little tactical change here. He might put Palmer in the left half space. He might switch Sancho and Antony round. He does doing that. Will Jackson still be suspended? Yeah, he will be. He won't be back until
he's got a 4-match suspension because he's got dangerous conduct. So
he'll miss the next game in the first game of the season, and he'll miss
first two games of the season. Yeah.
And what's it called? He'll be for the final though. He'll be here for Betis next week in Poland. We'll call out.
I wouldn't start him for Betis personally.
Even if you go to Betis, by the way. Sorry.
He deserves to hold it. Yeah. He deserves to hold it.
Because I have a ticket. I don't know whether to go or not.
I'm sitting on the fence as well because I didn't. I wasn't smart like everyone else and sort out my travel before we got here.
There we go. That's my problem. So, guys, for context, I checked it last Saturday or Friday, and I think it was like go to Gdansk, which is like 4-hour train journey away, was at
Mhm.
170. I was like, okay. I
Mental.
left it until 2 days ago. It's now like 260
Yeah.
just for that, and I've got to get train tickets. It's all a bit long, isn't it? So I'm not sure. But I've got a ticket.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Is it not cheap to get there by what EasyJet? Does EasyJet not go there? Is it not
EasyJet are moving like a private jet, mate. EasyJet are moving like a private jet.
To be fair, I always say if not, just take the Flixbus. It's the coach. That's what I usually. It's only cost me like 25-30 quid usually to get there, but it's like a little bit.
It's like 2 days, isn't it?
Probably will be because then when I used it to get to the Netherlands.
Long.
It was very like.
Before I should have just gambled that I was going to get a ticket, but I didn't, and now I'm stuck. So, what you saying? It's not 25 likes? What? Hit the like button, man. Hey guys, help me push the like button for me. Maybe it's my voice.
Come on, man. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, man. Come on, man.
Come on, everyone. Support Ches. And if you're a Chelsea fan and you want Champions League, hit the like button.
If you want UCL, hit the like button. Yeah?
That's it.
Otherwise, you do, but it's going to be because of you.
Listen.
The other thing is, I know we're speaking about Nottingham Forest, but you know, the Conference League is only in 3 weeks, by the way. I don't know. So the Club World Cup is in 3 weeks. I don't know if you know that, right?
Wait,
that's what I'm saying.
3 weeks?
No way. Yes. But obviously,
what days it start? 16th.
So our first game is, I think, it's on the 16th, or like it'll be the 16th because it's going to be like in the morning if you're in the UK, right? Like early in the morning. But in that competition starts on the 14th of June. So
we have the most smoke for after the season. Are you saying would I be giving the smoke out? Probably. If we get UCL in Conference League, what would I not be happy about? That's a good season for me, considering where we're at. The manager is like Pep. He wants to be the reason the team wins. I think there's a bit of confirmational bias. We need Victor Osimhen. We do. Let's go through his comments. Caption suspended. Yeah, this was a good comment. Great stream, guys. Appreciate the love here. I think our last 2 games won't be as plain sailing, but the one thing about the owners is that they care about the more about the pound notes than they do about the team, and that's bad. I don't know about that. I think they make wrong decisions. I don't think they care primarily about money. I think
it's just too much. I think it's to do with data. I think the way that our club
works, the right idea, but the wrong execution of it. I don't think it's about purely the money. That's my opinion.
I think money. Before I let Nina go, I was going to say, I think, the other thing, sadly, is that we need to also look financially. It doesn't matter. I hate to put it like this, but like the transfer market, if you're not going for certain types of players, right? 70, 80, 90, 100 million. That's just the transfer fee. Then the contract, they're probably gonna have to offer them. You know what I mean? I don't think owners don't want to do that anymore. I think that's just the reality. I think a lot of the time now, a lot of it now is now that I think we've kind of entered the super FM era. I'm gonna call it now. I'm not gonna just call it FM. Super FM era, the Moneyball era. I feel like it's come to football in a lot more ways than one now. Because like everyone's now trying to do the skid model. City's trying to now. City even now. If you look at some of the targets, bro, they're not even willing to pay the money. What? I couldn't believe when I read that the other day. I was like, that's City, bro. Like those guys have got like the shakes. Like what's going on? So usually, so I just think it's just like I think the game just changed, sadly, guys. That's what it is.
Nina, direct question for you here, and you get to say your point from before. Yo, Nina, it's a bit direct. Who do you prefer to win? That's man them, innit? Yo, what you saying, B? Nah, come on, man. It's high, Nina. Anyway, who do you prefer to win the Inter or PSG?
To be honest, I know people probably want PSG just because they haven't won it, but I personally am going Inter because I have a bigger affiliation with Italy and I think a bit more emotional as well. But I've got a lot of friends there and they support the club. It's massive, but that's just from an emotional side of it. But probably for football, people would say PSG, I think. But
I think both have like a good story. Because Inter lost the other year.
Have a good story, certainly, but I don't know.
Rebranding the model, things like having a young team.
I think it'll be very competitive.
I think this is the first final where no, like it's good for
I
both
can't
teams.
actually choose for this one. It's very hard for me
Yeah,
to
I
choose
wouldn't
on this
mind
one
if
either.
Inter won it. Bastoni and them
50-50
are a
for
little
me.
bit older. Yeah, like Bissek, you got
I think the
Dumfries.
PSG, they have more of a they've got a chance to go out and do it again, if that makes sense, because of the team that they're building there. What
Yeah, that's
Enrique's
true.
got cooking there is great, and they could build on that next year. But for a lot of Inter players, this will feel like the kind of the last dance, the last chance. I mean, what Inzaghi's done there is again pretty special. I don't know. The storylines, both of them were great, but yeah, I mean,
It would
I'm
be
looking
funny
forward
if
to it
Mbappe.
being.
It'd be
I'm
funny
looking
about the
forward
Mbappe
to it
storyline.
being
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
It'd be funny, like he
See,
goes to Real Madrid
Usman
and then they win the
Dembele,
UCL
and
the
then
season after. It'd be
Dembele
hilarious.
shows him holiday. Yeah, yo, look at my champs in League One, and he's just sitting there with nothing.
That would be another crazy story. Dembele left Barcelona, goes on to win the UCL,
Yeah,
and
be the main man as
potentially
well.
be a Ballon d'Or winner, which is what
Yeah,
Barca wanted from him. And that crazy story from there, man.
Yeah.
They're both good stories. They're both like
They're
good
both
stories
great
for
stories.
neutral.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Guys, and
but
to
that's a
think that
final that'll be enjoyable. Yeah,
Enrique as our manager as well is just bizarre. And now here he is. He's in a Champions League final, and he's done wonders with that team. But hey, we're here with Maresca. Nothing wrong with that. Anyways.
I love it. 100%.
But yeah, no, just to relay back to the point that Ahmed was making about obviously spending, and David's comment about it being financially driven. You see kind of Todd Bowley came out and spoke at the Qatar Forum about it being like buying players being investment rather than anything else. That's a very key word there, because of course they're businessmen, they're billionaires, they've come this far because they have a very good vision for making money. Fine, that's absolutely great. I think obviously our biggest issue with that was that there isn't that kind of layer of we've been there, done that with football clubs. Like that's why we're so untrustworthy with what it is that's going on here. So it's not bizarre to think that a lot of it is financially driven. However, you've still got to win and compete in big things and win big tournaments to make money. So I don't necessarily believe the narrative is, oh, we don't want them to win anything. It's all about making money. I just think the process of winning and getting there to being competitive is quite different to what we envisioned. But we were all pretty, like, I can't lie and say that I wasn't excited by the way we started to spend money at the time when we were going in big money signings. So I can't complain too much, because then I'd just be disingenuous. But I do think that a lot of the financial, so I'm a match day going fan. I can't lie and say that a lot of the things that are happening in terms of like ticket prices, how things are changing, and how merchandise is changing, I can't help but think that a lot of that side of it is very much money. And we're not stupid. We know that football is generally kind of heading in that direction anyway, but to see it at such a big scale at our own club is pretty sad, I must say. But yeah, I think it's definitely a balance. I think they're trying to balance it out, but as a fan, it does make you think that a lot of it is financially driven, and it is certainly.
Yeah, I have to agree with the ticket stuff, man. Whenever I try to get a ticket these days, man, I'm looking at the price and it's like, damn, for half that price, I was watching like 18 Milan versus Chelsea just like 3 seasons ago, bro. And like even like sometimes I just look at like the shirt prices. I'm like, damn, that's a lot of money, 84 quid. That's for like the regular one. Like I remember it was like 69.95. It's like, what is it? Wasn't that not like last season, like the season before? So no, I really do hear that. I just think. And it's just like a sad reality. It was like this of where we are. Like I think for me, when you've had like a previous owner, who I probably like would say like is he's like a unicorn essentially, in the sense of like, I think for him it was like for the love of the game essentially, like where it was like he loved the sport and wanted to win in the sport, and didn't really. I think the other stuff wasn't as important to him, right? If that makes sense. And then you go to this sort of like I mean, it's the modern day way of things. It's definitely like it just is such a hard thing that's like to go from one. Like I definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you just said. I feel like they got the right. I keep saying this. They got the right idea. Just the execution of it has been a bit pear-shaped at times. I've agreed with most of their signings, but when they need to bring experience, and we need that striker last year in January, they didn't do it. The management choices have been a bit knackered as well. Poch was a good idea, but again, could have got a bit better probably. Maresca, is looking decent, in my opinion. I like him. But could you have got better than him? Certainly. Look at Enrique right now. So, yeah. And in businesses like this, small decisions can have big impacts. It's not always the biggest things that have the biggest impact. It's the small ones. Who you sign, contract lengths, all these sort of things make a big difference. So,
yeah,
hopefully that in the summertime, if we do make our target and we do beat UCL, and Nina's celebrating in Nottingham, in the Midlands, on Sunday, and me and Ahmed are watching wherever with our friends, whatever. It's a really nice day, and it's a great vibe. We're on YouTube doing content. We all do content here, so we're good content times. But if we don't, it won't be great, to be honest. So it's literally go hard or go home. And guess who's in the chat, guys? Wolfie. He's just appeared out of nowhere. Don't mess up on Sunday. Why do you don't mess up on? I said we need you.
Yeah,
to
man, we can say the same to you, to be honest.
Exactly.
But
Wolfie, shake my hand. Fair game, man. We'll see. The mighty Chelsea will humble Wolfie. We'll see. Imagine this, guys. Imagine our two competitors. We beat Forest, and then we take Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. Could you imagine that? That would be too funny. Jay Shaw said, "Howler." You better laugh at a love eye emoji. Hey, Wolf, you're too late, man. We've already told your club already. But anyway, people, a lot of you in here, but I do need to go. I've got a life outside of YouTube, and so the other two. So, love for the love, man. I'll see you Friday. I'm in the office tomorrow, so we'll stream tomorrow. So I'll see everyone Friday. And probably after Friday, next time I'll speak to you lot. It'll probably be Sunday, probably after the game or doing a preview before the game. Sorry. Imagine you end up back in the Conference League next year. I think for that to happen, we would have to. Oh, rah. Could we finish?
We'd have to lose. We'd have to lose, and then everyone else would have to win.
End the stream. End the stream.
Why did you say that? Oh
yeah,
my
but then obviously there is the Conference League final.
Wait a minute. That's
there is the
conference.
Listen, obviously you got the Conference League final, right? If you win the Conference League final, then you basically got.
Oh yeah. You guys are right. Because I just sat there and was like, hold a minute. There's actually a possibility that could happen. I was like, wait a minute. I thought that wasn't possible, but it is. Damn. And there is the fear I was looking for. Listen, this is all facade. Yeah. Come Sunday, I'll be there. Yeah. And we'll see you soon anyway. Like the video. Subscribe to Nina in the description below. And I'll be the Bridge TV, Nina's Blue Corner. Let's end the stream in a bit.